Deep World Stories has now established that Kenya entered into 2 agreements under a global health diplomacy program, agreements that allow emergency facilities such as Ebola centers to be established in the country. Deep World has further learned that American health experts have already arrived in the country to set up an Ebola quarantine facility in Laikipia County, a facility expected to receive US citizens exposed to the deadly virus. This comes even as President William Ruto held talks with the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, with Washington pledging 1.7 billion shillings to support the program. And as Deep World's Uzarama Bernard reports, the High Court has now suspended the construction and operationalization of the facility amid a growing resistance from Kenyans and medical professionals as well as leaders. Is greater than. Facility is going to host people who are endangering my own life. Is greater than. As Kenyans continue to debate the controversial US-backed Ebola quarantine facility last evening, President William Ruto, on the other hand, was having a phone conversation with the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. At the center of the talks were plans to establish an Ebola quarantine and isolation center in Kenya for American citizens exposed to the virus in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Following the discussions, the United States pledged 1.7 billion shillings to support Kenya's Ebola preparedness and response measures. The Donald Trump administration has also committed an additional 14.5 billion shillings toward regional Ebola containment efforts across the region as fears grow over the rapidly spreading outbreak in the DRC. As these developments unfold, Deep World has established that Kenya entered 2 separate agreements under a broader global health diplomacy framework. Agreements that permit the establishment of emergency health facilities such as Ebola centers within the country. The first agreement was signed in 2015 by former Health CS James Macharia, before former Health CS Mutahi Kagwe signed a 7-year extension in 2022. By signing a biosafety agreement with the US on the 24th of July 2015, Kenya opened her doors to the setting up of research and isolation centers for diseases classified as biological threats. Then in December 2024, Kenya revised her foreign policy, particularly, and I quote, to promote Kenya as a wellness, humanitarian, and health emergencies medical hub. The foreign policy document titled The Global Health Diplomacy and seen by Deep World became the foundation for the now controversial move to set up Ebola laboratories, isolation centers in Kenya. On the 4th of December 2025, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi and US and Secretary of State Marco Rubio signed the Kenya-US Health Cooperation Framework in Washington, D.C. President William Ruto was present as a witness. Deep World has further learned that American health experts and military-linked personnel have already arrived in the country to spearhead the establishment of the Ebola quarantine facility in Laikipia County. According to the terms of the 1.7 shilling arrangement, the facility is expected to host American nationals exposed to Ebola, with operations reportedly set to be supervised by the US military personnel and managed by the American medical teams. This plan has, however, triggered sharp criticism from Kenyans. Leaders and residents of Laikipia County, where the facility is expected to be established, have also rejected the plan, raising fears of a public safety, transparency, and the possible importation of Ebola into Kenya. Is greater than, and it is shameful to say that even the county government of Laikipia doesn't have any information regarding this program that is going to be initiated here. It is insulting because matters here should be a coordinated effort between the county government and also the national government. Is greater than. PLP leader Martha Karua has also voiced her opposition to the setting up of the US Ebola quarantine facility in the country. Karua argues that the government should give priority to the health of Kenyans before thinking of hosting sick foreigners. Is greater than. It is astonishing that William Ruto and his administration can listen to America saying that they do not want any infected person because their policy is to protect Americans first. How dare them entertain the idea that they can bring Ebola-affected people to Kenya to protect America but endanger the Kenyan population? Is greater than. In a statement to Newsroom 2 days ago, Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale said, and I quote, Kenya was ready and capable, end of quote. And now, The Parliamentary Health Committee has summoned him over the controversial agreement as pressure mounts on the government to publicly disclose the full details of the deal. According to the latest figures from health authorities, more than 1,000 Ebola infections and over 240 deaths have so far been recorded in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Uganda, which has reported several infections and at least one death, has already heightened border surveillance measures as the region remains on high alert. It now remains to be seen whether the government will comply with the court orders and hold the implementation of the facility. Uzarama, Bernard, Deep World Stories.